I'm going to remove this piece of stainless right here, and there are four cap screws on each side that hold these brackets on. Once you get those off, this piece will come off right here. Here's a quick shot of the bottom. There's a couple miter gears on either end of this shaft right here. So when you turn your adjustment for height, it'll transmit that power to the other lead screw, and they'll both move up and down at the same time. I've got it down to a point now where it's manageable and I can go ahead and clean it up. So I'm not going to worry about taking this. I've had a change of thought. I'm going to go ahead and take these apart, and I'll show you how they come apart, because they need to be re-lubricated in there. There's just really nothing in it and they were really dry. So there are 4 cap screws, 2 on each side. Take those out and these will pull just straight up, just like so. And then you can take this nut off the end, and you'll have the gear, a washer with a step, this housing, and then a flat bearing washer. So these will get lubricated when it goes back together, and I'll note that as well. I figured since I went down this far, I was going to go ahead and take it the rest of the way, because like I said, these were pretty much bone dry. And then once you flip it over, these 2 gears will just slide off the ends of their keyways. And didn't do anything with this bar. It'll get lubricated a little bit. I'll note all these things when I go back together. Here is a quick shot of the bottom with the 2 rollers, the in-feed and the out-feed rollers, as well as the cutter head. So hopefully when I spin this, you can see that these rollers are now turning to feed the material through. The rollers themselves are still real soft and pliable. This one looks really dirty, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with them. Underneath this plastic cover here, this was just totally gunked up with bits of this and that. So to get it off, you pull it out as far as you can, and then just kind of pinch it up here, and that will pop off. And there's a lot more gearing in here, hopefully it shows up, than what I thought was going to be in there. A lot of gearing. So I'm going to pull everything apart, because this is obviously, to me, it's dry. You know, everything is just almost bone dry. It slung all the grease off if it had any in there. So I'm going to pull the rollers out in the whole 9 yards. I'm getting ready to take out the rollers, but before I can do that, I need to remove the chains and the sprockets right here. So I've already pulled off the snap ring from this one and this one. There are 3 that need to be removed. So I'll try to remove this one right now. And there we go. And I'm not sure if these chains are the same, so I marked this one with just a few dots on the links, just to make sure that everything was going to be fine. So I'll take that one off, set it aside, and then I'll take these off and I'll set it aside. I'm removing the feed rollers, and they are spring loaded. I've taken the cap screws out of all of them except the last one over here. So, you know, just kind of hold down on it and take them out, release the spring tension. Probably pull that right now. Pull this out. And when, you know, the caps are a little bit different from each side, but that's almost irrelevant. So now they are ready to just simply come out of there. And there's a bearing block on both ends, as you can see. So now the rollers have been removed. And these are the springs I was speaking of that are loading them up. There are 4 of them here and here. I hadn't pulled the springs out yet, but they are different lengths. With the gear train on the left, the ones furthest away from me, they're shorter than the ones towards me. Hopefully you can see that on the camera. So just need to make sure we get these back in there properly when it's being put back together. I'm going to take the gear train apart. I just wanted to note that there's one bushing right here on this shaft. Just make sure that you don't lose that. Set that aside. Now there's 6 cap head bolts in here. We only need to take out 4 of them, and hopefully you'll be able to see which ones I'm referring to. This one here, we need to remove that. The one down here, there are 2 side by side. It's the one on the left. Need to remove that. And then there are 2 across the top right here. We need to remove these. And these 2 are the same length. These 2 are different lengths. So the shortest one goes bottom left, and the longest one goes bottom right. So we should be able to just take this whole assembly right out. And there it is, and all of its nastiness. Needs to be cleaned up. There's some old grease. I will be taking this clockwork apart and cleaning everything up and re-lubricating it and putting it back together. I finally got it down to a point where I've got the drivetrain out so I can listen to these bearings when they spin. I'm going to let you hear them. They're pretty much shot. Hopefully that picks up on the camera. They sound like they've slung their grease and they're running pretty dry. Okay, well there's a flange right here on the pulley side of the cutter head, and there are 3 socket head cap screws. I removed those. So from the other end, I'm going to take a dead blow hammer and start slowly driving this out. And there we go. So now I can remove the cutter head. That's what we've been shooting for the whole time. Yeah, look at this. I said it sounded like it slung the grease. There it is. The grease is slung out of this bearing. So it is just useless. Alright, I'm going to pull the bearing off this side using the Harbor Freight bearing separator. This thing is a great tool. That was it for this one. So there's the bearing I just pulled off. I'll look at this momentarily. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's slung its grease. The other end is going to be a bit different. And by the way, this nut on here is a left-handed nut, so you tighten it to loosen it, like so. I'm going to need to pull this off here, so I'm going to try to use the bearing separator to pull this pulley as well. Alright, well I'm set up to try to pull the pulley off of this with this bearing separator, so we'll see how this works. Alright, no problem there. There's the pulley. Okay. Looks like there's a key that I need to dig out of here. Oh, don't even need to dig it out. There's the key. And looks like I'm going to be able to separate this right out. I'm taking a little bit of a different attack on this one. This steel ring right here, the bearing is pressed in from the back side, so I've turned my puller around for the flat side and I'm catching just the edges of this steel ring to see if I can pop it off first. And if I can, then I'll reset this tool and pull the bearing. I kind of feel like that'd be a little bit easier than pulling the bearing off, encapsulated in this, and then try to get it out of that. So haven't tried it yet, so here we go. Gonna just carefully start pulling. And it looks like the whole bearing's coming out with it anyway, even though that's not what I wanted to happen. So I'll go ahead and take it off and then see what I need to do to get that out of that housing. It's worth a shot, just didn't work out as planned. Getting a little snug there. Let me hit it a couple raps with a hammer. A couple more raps here. Just about off. Oh, now it's starting to pull it out. Looks like I might get lucky. Okay. Well, that's what I was trying to achieve originally, was just pulling this ring off. You can see the bearing started coming with it, but I got tight down at the end and it eventually popped out of that ring. So now I just need to reset and pull the bearing off the rest of this shaft. Quick reset and I should be able to get that bearing off. And there it came. Alright, let me see if the bearings are the same. 6203 LB. Yeah, they're the same bearings. Says 6203 LB. So I need to source these out. Don't know if you can hear it. I can. Feeling it to boot.